Former Bethel High School teacher pleaded not guilty to 2 felony charges of forgery and tampering with records. She allegedly signed the name of a student's parent on school documents. Newsletter 7's Taylor Robertson got hold of the incident report and court documents.
I got a statement from Bethel Local Schools today that said that Andrea Bullmaster had been a teacher at the high school for just 7 months before resigning after being placed on administrative leave once the investigation began. According to the court records I got a hold of today, Andrea Bullmaster was indicted on 2 counts of tampering with records and 2 counts of forgery. The incident report says on January 24th, Miami County Sheriff spoke to a woman who wanted to make a telephone harassment complaint. The woman told police that a teacher from her son's school was communicating inappropriately with her son, who was a freshman at Bethel at the time. According to the incident report, the woman became aware of a situation happening between her son and Bullmaster when her son came home with gifts he said came from Bullmaster. The woman later found messages between her son and his teacher. The incident report says the messages were not obviously criminal in nature, but it was apparent that there was an emotional and flirtatious facet to their communication. The sheriff's department collected information from both Bullmaster and the student's cell phone. There were thousands of messages between the two through text and on social media, on a daily basis, before, during, and after school. At one point, Bullmaster asked the student if his mom would be cool with Bullmaster signing his mom's name on a form to get his schedule changed to where he would be spending multiple class periods with her. I reached out to Bethel Local Schools. They did not want to speak to me on camera, but sent a statement that said the district was taking these accusations seriously and are working with Miami County Sheriff's Department as they conduct their investigation. Bullmaster will be back in court tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. for a preliminary hearing. We're live outside of Bethel High School. Taylor Robertson, News Center 7.